Hello, and thank you for tuning in to this very special edition and first episode of the Extra Dialogues. I'm your host, Susan Sindani, and with me, I have two very wonderful guests. But before I introduce them, this episode is dedicated towards the 16 Days of Activism campaign to end all forms of violence against women and girls. And for this year, the theme is Unite to invest in ending violence against women and girls. Thank you so much, and I hope you be with us on this journey. All right, Susan and Dre, welcome so much, and I'm looking forward to insightful and easy and deep conversations of how we can together promote the conversation around preventing and ending violence against women and girls, and of course how also men have a role to play in this. So I'll let you introduce yourselves and what you do before we dive right into the conversation. I'll start with ladies first. Dre. Yes, Susan.
Thank you. My name is Susan Nyabena. I'm a gender and human rights consultant, so I cut across on matters dealing with gender equality, women's rights. It's more of like a whole package, so to say. And thank you for having me today.
My pleasure.
So my name is Andre. They call me Dre. I work in the development world with Emerging Leaders Foundation Africa as a program officer. Apart from that, I'm a content creator, as we are now called. But I run a show called Noble Africa Show, which is a YouTube channel, sharing people's story and also connecting people through stories. Apart from that, I do many other things, from MCing to writing to, reading and sharing about those books that I read.
Yeah, well, you sound like a jack of so many trades. But in this conversation, I would really love you to bring in the development aspect as well as the men's perspective. And for Susan, I'm really glad that you are in the gender space, and I'm hoping and looking forward to conversations around that. So my first question is, what is the significance of this campaign, 16 Days of Activism campaign? Why has it been important for the world to mark this campaign?
I would say basically the campaign is just to bring people together, kind of conversation starter or kind of unpacking on issues to deal with GBV. So everyone is now welcome to the space, cutting from the government, running around down to the CBOs and definitely the FBOs, and having the cultural leaders also joining in. So basically it's just to have every stakeholders to join the campaign. Let's have this conversation. I would say that has been the most significant part, just to now open the space to everyone.
Right.
And just to add to what Susanna said, there is that, every day we are talking about these issues, and they keep on happening. We are having cases of gender-based violence here and there. We have these conversations going, but it's also very important that we spare a day when we now just say, let the world take a break and let's now focus on these issues on a very important role, bringing more stakeholders, bringing more practitioners into the field, even the victims to share their stories so that we can get to know how deep are these issues in our community.
I mean, I'm so glad, because in this case, then we're going to set aside 16 days, not even just one day.
Yeah.
And I've been told and I've been encouraged to use the word survivor instead of victims when talking about people that have been subjected to that.
Right.
Statistics, and I'm pretty sure that you have come across this number. It says that 1 out of 3 women has ever experienced a form of violence, whether gender-based violence or intimate partner violence, at least once in their lifetimes. So it means that this thing, as you said, Dre, is quite rampant, and it happens like almost in every woman's life. So I wanted to ask you, Dre, how do you think violence against women and girls manifests itself differently from your own understanding?
I think for girls, it's much more about, the caregivers, how vulnerable they are to their caregivers, and even immediate family members. We need not to forget about that most girls have like their first sex with, people who are related to them, because we don't suspect that they can. And for women, we are looking at people who go to parties, for example. We have the artists now. They say art is a reflection of the society. And you're having an artist that is telling us that atuitishi ruhusa kuguza. And therefore, there are so many young men who think that they have a right to women's body because they are in specific social space that to their mind they think allows that kind of behavior or that kind of violation of women's body. So I think the dynamics are different,
Right.
and it goes all the way to married people. For example, the
Yeah.
marital rape. Your spouse thinks that they have a right, because we've termed the thing conjugal right. They have a right to have sex with you because they are married to you, and sometimes you're not in the right headspace to even have sex, and therefore they force themselves on you.
Right.
So these things vary from a child who's teenager or before teenagers, women who are married, who are not married. It's quite different.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for introducing that part of intimate partner violence, because I'm
Yeah.
coming to you, Susan. Can you tell us more about intimate partner violence, like the settings it happens and the complex dynamics that are involved in such forms of violence against women?
Okay, let me start with the complexity part of it. For one, it's not something that is covered in the Constitution. So basically, you can't actually go to court and claim that I've been raped or I've been, by my partner. Really, it's not gonna hold. So that is the first struggle, obstacle, or complexity that we're dealing with in environments that it takes place. Let me use a case study to explain this. At the coastal region, in the particular tribes or particular community, that they actually are victims of continuous intimate partner violence, in the sense that maybe they've given birth, so you need at least some period of time to heal before you get back. And you see, these women, from their childhood, all they've known is that their worth, their value is how good they can be as a wife. There is nothing else tied to them. Their only value, their existence is actually based on you being a good wife. So if the husband wants to have sex, we are gonna have sex. It doesn't matter how, when, where we are gonna have sex,
Or whether you want it or not.
it does not matter, because your value is actually being a wife, a good wife, to be precise. So you on this, they don't consent. And most of the time they will be dealing with issues of infection, because now it will go to it now gets to the anal sex. So you're healing. On the other side, you've just given birth. On this other side, it's, and the biology or the structure of it kind of cuts across. So
Very delicate,
with the birth, everything is torn. So that is just an example of a setting that it happens. In normal homes that people wouldn't really consider, someone comes home, they're drunk, I want to have sex. I don't care. You've been there the whole day. If I'm smelling, if whatever, it doesn't matter, And yet I say there is so much that goes into getting intimate, especially for women. For women, it's just not a physical thing. You have to kind of set the mood the whole day before you get there. So for you to just show up and you want to jump into it, it's really difficult. And then basically that is how it's usually at home. Mostly it's like a domestic issue, and usually with a person either you're in a relationship with or you're married to, because it's not specifically just for married people, even for people in relationships, right? You go to see your boyfriend, we are Netflixing and chilling. Netflix and chilling equals to, so you
eventually,
cannot, it has to equal to something. So we cannot start the Netflix, we chill, and then we are not getting to the destination. It's gonna be a problem, know. And then at the end of the day, it's difficult for you to go out there and say that maybe I was violated, I was raped, because
your boyfriend, exactly.
Why did you take yourself to the lion's den? Kind of conversation. So it's usually the environment is usually it's a familiar environment. It's someone that you're intimate with,
that you trust.
so that hence the intimate partner violence.
I think from what Sue is talking about, there are two things that comes out here. That first of all, there's a problem with framing of the term conjugal right. Because once we put it as a right, I know my human rights, for example, I demand from the government.
You are entitled.
I'm entitled to it, So we need to unpack the whole idea of conjugal right. Actually, it shouldn't be a right, because sex is very few things. First, sex is consent, Sex is age. Like, are you having sex with the right age? And sex is also informed consent.
Right.
For example, if I go drinking with a lady, and then at that moment when she's drunk, I have sex with her, if she goes out there and claims I've raped her,
It is
I
true.
think it is true.
Yeah.
I've raped her because the consent is not informed. It's her judgment is impaired when she was making that consent. So that one is another issue. Like we people in these spaces need to start having the conversation on how right is the conjugal right, or the idea of it being a right is really, really
Yeah,
wrong.
I think we need to
Yeah.
really have an extensive
Yes.
conversation about
Yeah.
how to frame that.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, we have talked about sexual violence as a form of violence against women and girls. What are other ways in which violence is perpetuated against women and girls apart from just it being sexual?
So I think there's a normal trend among, for example, the people in the public. I want to use the border, not that I'm targeting them.
No, I mean that
but
they're one of the
yes,
groups
they are
that
one
actually
of the groups
perpetuate
that
that.
are actually, like objectifying a woman's body. For example, somebody is just walking, a woman is dressed in a particular way, and then they like use very vulgar terms to refer to how she's dressed. And most of the times they are talking to her. And you see, this is like shaming them, for the way they are dressed. And this I think this comes out very clearly, and I see it even in the streets. Yeah, a lady's dressed in a particular way and she's passing by, and then men think that they have that right to comment about
Yeah.
her body because the way she's dressed.
They don't think about how uncomfortable.
How uncomfortable that
Yeah.
makes a woman feel. And they also forget that they're also children of other women.
And they have
And
sisters,
they
and they have
sisters.
children.
And they will tell you that my mother was not dressing this way. So I think society needs to know how to respect people, respect the choices that people make, even in their mode of dressing. Sometimes they are in numbers and they shame her. you
Yeah,
see,
like why
know?
would you gang against an innocent girl?
Yes.
Grown ass men, you are like 5 of you sitting there doing your work.
Yeah.
Someone is minding their own business, just walking to wherever, and you spoil their day simply
Yeah.
because of what. So that is verbal abuse, right?
Yes.
Let me bring it from the previous question that you asked on how it manifests, and then I'll
Right.
cut across to it. So gender-based violence actually has a life cycle. So we would start from pregnancy, and then we'll get to childhood, or what people call infancy, and then we'll get to teenage, adolescence,
Yeah.
and then we get into adulthood, and then we'll get to the elderly aspect. So all cutting across three, and then after elderly, okay, we don't go to ancestors, but you see,
Yeah.
when this life cycle, so when you're pregnant,
Yeah.
there are forms of violence that you're going to be susceptible to. So there are definitely intimate partner violence is going to come across when you're in that phase that maybe you're just too tired to maybe be intimate, or
Right.
you're
Too
just
much
feeling
happening.
some way,
Yeah.
So if I want it, and I don't care if you're pregnant, you're my woman, conjugal rights, like you were talking about. There is you're vulnerable to GBV, right? Because men know that you're actually at your most vulnerable state when you're pregnant. So anything small that we get to do to you when you're pregnant can actually just topple over. It can just end your life, And then there is the emotional,
Yeah.
and the psychological abuse and the trauma, and the coming and going out of your life, and you have to beg me to show up as a dad.
Right.
That is just parts of things that women go through during pregnancy. So when it comes to childhood, it's almost similar. The emotional that comes with the intimate partner violence, and then the child will definitely also go through situation. There's issues of abandonment, issues of neglect, issues of childhood trauma, with the abuse and everything.
Yeah.
Teenagehood is, we all know the cases of teenage pregnancy, the way it's really high,
Yeah.
and it's just unfortunate that it's more of cases of defilement. It's not like the kind that I've forgotten the name, the one that you would, they're like almost not really consensual, within the same age group. I've forgotten how it's called, but it's more of issues of defilement. Like you find a teenager dating someone who is in campus. Like I have seen, there's a case I handled last year. The lady was 16 and dating a guy who was 35 years. I was like, make it. I don't even bother about the 16-year-old girl. As a 35-old man,
Yeah.
What would you be doing with a 16-year-old girl who doesn't even know the trajectory of her life currently?
Yeah.
She's just reading biology.
Exactly.
And
Like, how do you even get to the
Exactly.
comfort of now thinking about
Yeah,
having sex?
you know
'Cause
how it just I
doesn't
couldn't
make
I
sense.
It
couldn't
doesn't.
get to it. So like even trying to understand how it was, that's a different story. And then when we get to adulthood now, there is issues of manipulation. I think right now we are so heavy on psychological and emotional because the physical gets people in jail. So
Yeah.
then let me go. It's difficult for you to prove
See.
emotional and psychological. So what are you going to report to the police? There's
Exactly.
no form to fill like the
Yeah.
physical one that will do the P3. So we hear ladies being told like the way he was saying that I don't know, my mother, my sister, or whatever. But I say, if you feel like you want someone who is like your mother, you can as well just marry her for just being sarcastic.
Yeah.
Because you found me, this is who I am. And I always tell my male friends, if you're a man that appreciate ladies who are petite, don't get to a lady who is thick and then you want to force her to lose weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Please don't. And
Just
if
marry
you
within your comfort
yeah
zone.
and if you like ladies who are thick, don't date a petite lady and force her to start growing all the physical attributes that you're looking. No, please
Or
don't
don't
stress
body
people's
shame
daughters,
her.
right? And I say the same to the ladies. If you know that you cannot be an understanding girlfriend, don't be dating men and start to make them wonder, oh, you see kina nani jana alinunuliwa iPhone, I don't know which one. You're stressing the man.
Yeah,
You're
that is
pushing
emotional
him
abuse.
towards
Oh, yes.
and we know the rates of suicide currently that men have. It's really,
Yeah.
really high.
Right.
So these are the issues that I talk. And the emotional and psychological is what gets us to the mental aspect. Right now, we
Yes.
have lots of campaign on issues of mental health. This is where it starts. It's the emotional and psychological abuse that gets us to the mental issues. And then within adulthood, definitely the IPV, that is when people are getting married and everything. There are issues of rape. Like you were saying, we'll go to parties, these house parties also. I know of several drug issues. People get drugged, a lot of things
Right,
happen,
right.
and it's difficult for you to report cases of house parties because there's so many people and it will look like you are the one who's trying to break the closely knit circle.
Right.
We are the cool one, so wewe ukienda kushtaki you are becoming
you're
the
breaking,
problem.
yeah.
Yes.
And then getting to the elderly, the issues of rape is really high on matter sexual. The elderly people get raped so much and sodomized. Actually, the elderly men get sodomized, and we have issues of financial abuse. I am there, I'm like, this man has refused to die. I want this land, I want this company, I want this, so some of them get committed to these old nyumba ya wazee, not by consent, wanalazimisha, because we want to get rid of you so we can take the hizo mali.
Yeah.
Like it's my inheritance, but
Exactly.
you're not entitled to it really.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be something that I give you out of good
Yeah,
heart. So they really suffer a lot of financial violence during that time. And then the emotional, because now you're old, you need someone to really help. And people are like, sasa we hakuna kitu unasaidia. That it gets to their head. And some of them actually do get to the rates of suicide. So I've just cut across to say that this is how that cuts across for both men and women.
And
it's
women,
not necessarily just women. I think it manifests the same because we are first human before we are male or female.
Yeah.
And it really it cuts across.
Right. I mean, you mentioned that there are cycles. You mentioned a pregnant woman being susceptible to violence.
Yeah.
And you mentioned an infant being susceptible to violence.
Yeah.
So, like you said, at every stage, people are vulnerable.
Yeah.
Whether you are a man or a woman,
yeah,
you are
true.
vulnerable and you might be a victim of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the marriage aspect. Do you think in our Kenyan context, marriage is for the strong? Especially tying it to gender-based violence, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, where our cultures tell us, when you're being introduced to the girl's family or when you're doing a rasho or those rituals, they sit you down, they tell you, marriage is difficult, that times you're going to be fighting, vumilia, marriage ni kuvumiliana, but you know that it gets to the point where physical abuse gets in. So do you really think marriage is for the strong in that context?
I don't want to say that marriage is for the strong. Marriage is for people who agree that they want to be partners in a relationship. It's a lifelong relationship, because if I die today, it's my wife that is going to be in charge, like bury me, ensure that I'm given decent burial. It's the same case with my case. If my partner dies, it's a lifelong relationship. Fighting that is gonna be there. I think we need to define what do we mean by fighting. I will have those moments when probably we have not agreed with my wife and we are fighting. It is not physical fighting. I'm not physically harming her.
So that's like an argument.
We are disagreeing,
Yeah.
you know, and disagreement can go to the level where I choose to sleep in the guest bedroom, for example. I'm not harming her. I'm excusing myself so that we meet maybe the following day when we are in the same headspace where the two of us can now talk.
Okay, so what about
Those
when
are
it gets to the point where the man physically assaults the woman and she cannot go home because culturally and at home they
Yeah.
told her kuvumilia.
And
Marriage ni
that is
kuvumilia.
that's why we need to start having these kind of conversations, because the idea of paying dowry actually to a man's perspective sometimes views the woman as the
Property.
item, like a property,
An object,
an
yeah.
item that you've gone to
own.
buy. You've toiled, you've invested your money to get them out of their home. We need to start viewing dowry as an appreciation for the mother or the father or let's say the parents for raising her up. It's just a token of appreciation, you know, that you two, because it is our tradition. But the moment you start viewing this as like it makes a woman your property,
Right.
and we tag the conjugal issues to have like the word right into it, then we are not partnering. Partnership simply means we are all gonna put our issues on the table and discuss things that we want to do together as a family. If there are moments when we are disagreeing, can we even involve our parents
Or a
to
third
have these
party.
issues, or a third party?
Right.
Because this is a lifelong partnership. So we need not to fix, in fact, violence only on marriages. There are ladies who are being beaten by their boyfriends.
Right.
You know, I've seen that in campus. You know, we've been, you know, part of those things sometimes, and it becomes really, really, you know, shocking that to men or our older generation, our fathers, there is nothing wrong to actually batter a woman. For example, to physically violate a woman.
I mean, in some cultures, it is part of the culture, the
part of the
ritual.
culture.
It is part.
Apparently, there are some cultures that say in a marriage, you have to be beaten at least once as a woman.
There is in a week kuna timetable.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There-
Is it true that there are tribes that
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
ladies-
it
Yeah,
is
it is
true.
true.
Yeah.
It is true. It's very true. We might not point names,
Yeah.
but it exists.
it
So those
does.
are the harmful aspects of our cultures that continue to perpetuate and enable gender-based violence.
Yes.
Susan, do you agree or disagree that the aspect of dowry is a bit problematic? Because if you're going to look at it from the lens of appreciating the woman's family, then what about appreciating the man?
I would say
Tulipiwe dowry
okay.
bana.
I would say I think with the current generation, as we keep on changing the context of everything to try and fit it all.
Yeah.
We cannot necessarily have dowry when you actually it's bride price really.
Yeah.
Because dowry is, if let's say if you're getting married, if I pay, then that's dowry, but if he's paying, that is bride price. The problem is we try to we want it to fit everything we have an imagination of. And let me use an example of how we get it to women being seen as products that can be bought. So let's say I'm getting married, right? The person I'm dating, this is someone I've known to be comfortable to take home, right?
Yeah.
So I know his capabilities, I know his strengths, I know his financial radar, where he is, I know his visions, I know his goals, right? So I'm taking this guy home. And nimeshasema nyumbani, I'm seeing someone, so
Yeah.
right? And then I get there. You find my parents, they're like, since maybe you're up to this level of education, so he's gonna pay maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know, 1 million, he's gonna
Yeah.
buy a car, he's gonna bring cows. But I know Missouri, the person I'm dating,
Doesn't have
we
the
don't even have
capacity.
the car.
The
In
father does not even own a goat.
we don't have the car, right?
Yeah.
And to me, nikiangalia, me being selfish, I would want my man to buy me a car first, right?
Exactly.
My parents, the husband would have bought my mom, right?
Yeah.
So me being selfish, I would want my man to buy me a car first before anyone else, right? So that is just on the side. But you need, you know the capability of your man. I know people say, no, let him struggle. Now this
Culture
is
is
where the
culture.
problem is. So if you allow your man to go through that,
Yeah.
because it's painful, it's actually a painful journey, because it's supposed to be a journey of love, but now you're putting so much
An
pressure,
obligation.
unnecessary. They
Yeah.
would end up taking loans, they would end up getting
Exactly.
into debt,
Doesn't make
simply
sense.
because to show he loves you.
Or
It
to
takes-
get the permission to actually make you his wife.
It really takes the beauty out of it. I believe marriage is supposed to be really beautiful, or
Yeah.
rather the journey to getting there, it's supposed to be beautiful. Now with this unnecessary sijui nini, you know, because I'm saying, if my mom of my parents ask for, let's say, 1 million dowry, I would want to say that I can comfortably give that 1 million. Then I would expect my man to give it. But you who is getting married, ukiambiwa utoe hiyo 1 million, you can. So how do you expect someone else's son to have that kind of money?
Girls and women need to actually
Have this
talk with
conversation
their
and
parents.
tone down, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, if I am a man and I've gone through that, you guys did not budge, you guys did not negotiate, you didn't want to even have mercy on me. So I've
Yeah.
gone through this,
Yeah.
and I've had you as a wife. Kumbuka, I have all the debt, I have all the loans.
Yeah.
Every time the bank will call me, I'll be looking at you and say, you
That
are
is
the
emotional
problem. You are
yeah.
the problem.
Yeah.
So, you know, the way men, my opinion, I'm not, I wouldn't say that this is true, but you see the way men express themselves, especially when they're frustrated, they will not sit in chamas or those boys
Yeah.
or whatever and have this conversation.
Right.
They'll be
Men
quiet.
will, they're actionable beings, so
Right.
they will act.
It
So
will
you
come
know,
out, yeah.
let's say it's end month, the bank is calling, yo jali deni nini, and then I'm coming home to this
Tuna
one,
sapa.
the lady is like, tuna sapa, oh sijui unajua hata ujanipea attention, oh unajua ujanifanya.
It
The guy
becomes
has been
too
trying
much.
to
Yeah.
look at, let's say he's supposed to be paying maybe 20k a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, napiga hiyo sababu kuna there's the loan, there's the rent, the maybe school fees, there's so many other
Yeah.
things. There is wife
black tax.
allowance, I don't know.
Black
Yeah, you know,
tax.
Yeah.
and you know, apart from his family, he's also sending something to the wife's family,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when you're asking how to, it's really genuine. You're like, oh, my husband, like, you know, I haven't heard from you, or maybe
Yeah.
I feel like you're distant kidogo. You see,
All of that will
he
come.
sees you are the problem. You
Yeah.
are actually, it is you. It is you and the family.
It is your fault.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
you guys. That is why I'm here. Otherwise, if you talk, so you see, that is where the objectification comes, or it starts from. So I'm not saying that what the men are doing is right. No.
We're just trying
But
to
what I'm
understand.
saying,
Yeah.
there is a place it starts
It
from.
starts,
So
yeah.
we deal with the root cause
First.
And I keep saying, I do actually endorse issues of bride price, but there is a way we do it in a cultural context. From what I used to, like Kitambo, when you actually ask our parents, they never used to be paid for sijui how many 100 cows and all. No, not really.
People have
Apart
taken
from those
advantage of
other,
that.
the northern country, like the northern part of the country,
Yeah.
that one is different. But for us, you find like they've even gone with 5 cows, you know, and that is it. And they will spend more money to do the celebration and have guests over, as opposed to because you see, after I've paid bride price, bado hatujaongelelea harusi, usijui gown that is being
Oh my
imported
God.
from somewhere.
Honeymoon.
So I keep saying, for us to be able to get there, I know there are men who've walked out of such situation
Yeah.
because they're like, really,
It's not worth it.
I don't think it costs this much to actually love someone and
Yeah,
enjoy marriage.
it doesn't.
And if I'm suffering right now, your family is not willing to budge. When we get to marriage, there are things that we're gonna deal with, right? And finances is one of the many reasons people get divorced. So how are we gonna juggle financial conversation if at this point you guys are not even willing? So I can't even come home and tell you people, hey, your daughter is not budging. You can't even downgrade. Sometimes life is hard.
Yeah.
So let's say we're used to a particular lifestyle.
Yeah.
Sometimes, we just have to downgrade before we
Right.
get back up,
Yeah.
right? Hata ataka kuhama. So where am I going to, So I tend to feel like the bride price is actually a good culture. I think it brings out the beauty. We're able to sit down. We're able to mingle. We're able to have
two
conversation.
cultures come together,
Come
yeah.
together. It's actually a beautiful thing. I do love Rora shows. Okay, no, because there's food, number one. But then again, you're able to see how people will be dancing. They're doing the covers. I don't know. It's a beautiful thing
Yeah,
that
celebrating cultural
I
heritage.
think those are
Yeah.
parts of our culture that we need to maintain. But now when you guys start to stretch it out of the culture and lazima tumefunika msichana usipotoa 50,000
Unalipa
atu,
fine.
to fine ya
Are you
nini,
serious?
and this lady will get married and then she will never be given money in that relationship.
Yeah.
She just be kila kitu. It's just like come and shopping, it's provided. Like the man doesn't even give her. So I feel like when we address the root cause, then we are able to take away the pressure, because men actually respond to frustration
Yeah.
by getting
By acting.
violent.
They act out.
They're actionable beings.
Yeah.
Sisi tutaenda chama, we gossip and we get done with
We
it.
let it
So,
out, but for them it's
yeah,
a
so
different
I think
reality.
this is a conversation is not necessarily gonna target men, because yes, they are the perpetrators, but I feel like women need to be pulled into this conversation to understand
Exactly.
that yes, for us to be able to deal with this as a root cause, you guys need to meet the men halfway. So when we meet halfway, then we're gonna have a conversation, right? But
Yeah.
I agree on bride price, and then we don't vumilia in marriage. No, we
We
don't
do
get,
not,
no.
right?
It's about negotiating for
Yeah.
what works for,
And
Yeah.
for each one of us. And we should know that violence by all standards shouldn't be accepted. in
and
the
simply because you're someone's girlfriend or wife or husband or male partner doesn't mean you do not, your rights are limited. Your rights will always be your rights. No one has the authority to violate your rights, whether they have paid for bride price, whether they have paid for your school fees, whether they've bought you things, properties. They cannot use that as justification to hit you or even emotionally or financially or psychologically abuse you, right? So my question goes to Dre.
Yeah.
Please tell me some of the red flags in a relationship that someone could be able to see, and if they act on it, they would possibly prevent incidents of any forms of violence in a relationship.
Yeah, there's a say that as a man thinketh, so he is. You know, what you
Yeah.
think, what you say sometimes could be what you are.
Right.
So, for example, there are these guys who threaten, like they threaten you.
Yeah.
I'll kill you. I'll beat you up. If you ever do that, I'll beat you up. And these are not always said in moments of anger.
But
You know, in a relationship, like early enough in a relationship, you know, there are those moments when you're having heated arguments and then somebody scares you or just tells you, I'll beat you up. If you ever do that, I'll kill you. Or, for example, if you ever cheat on me, I'll look for the other guy.
I
and
will
I'll
find
kill
him where he is, and I will
I'll
kill
get the
you
other guy
both.
and I'll kill him,
And I
or
will-
I'll kill you
oh.
both. You know. So those are the very small things that sometimes we take for granted. But if you've looked at, you know, the psychopaths who have actually killed their intimate partners, you will learn that the things
It was a
started from the
journey.
very small
Yeah.
conversations that you never really took care of. For example, a guy who would demand for your phone, you know, that's a control freak.
Yeah.
And gonna snoop in every other bit of your business. You come home and they're like, hand me your phone. And if you dare say no, it's a big deal.
There are consequences.
You're my girlfriend. What are you hiding in the phone? Of course, there's so much, even me as a man, sometimes I would want to have, like, for example, there's some chama that you don't have to know. Yeah, that's
you're
my
having,
own-
like, some
that's
male
my own hassle.
conversations.
I'm having my
Yeah.
male conversation. My brother has reached me out over the issues they're having with the wife. There's so much that are very private.
Right.
And any relationship or marriage should not mean that you lose your identity as a person.
Exactly.
And morph into another identity
Yeah.
that violates the who you are and also invades your privacy.
Privacy,
You know?
right.
Yeah. Someone who breaks things on the wall. For example, you guys are having your own issues there, and then he takes the whole plate with food and smashes it on
Or the
on the
phone.
wall. Or your phone,
They
because
smash-
you refuse to give him the phone. He takes your phone, smashes it on the wall, and then walks out. Those, to me,
Are some of the red flags.
are some of the
people
red
should
flags
look
that
out
we
for.
don't take so seriously.
Right.
But I also want to venture into a very delicate area. If you meet a man who has a very bad relationship with his mama, trust you me, that guy is not going to have a good relationship with you. To him, there is somewhere women are.
And you
A
are a
man who
woman.
can overtly say something really obscene about his mom or the mistakes that his mom did in the past, and he says them from a judgment point of view, that guy, there's a way he views women. But
right.
also the other way, the other side of the coin, because a woman will not respect a man if the very first man in her life she doesn't respect because of some of the mistakes they did. So if their daddy was violent and you see that she projects the same thing and she says she hates her dad, this cycle sometimes we don't break them until
Right.
we resolve them.
And it also cuts across, like, even how your man
Yeah.
treats women out there.
Yes.
You are you're walking in the streets,
Yeah.
they throw around some obscene comments about a lady.
Yeah.
You are in a hotel or restaurant, the way they treat the female
Yes,
waiter.
the way
So
the waitresses,
yeah, it really
you know?
says a lot, like you
Yeah.
said, about how they
Yeah.
view the other gender.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you need to ask yourself, if this is how they treat that woman, I am a woman. So
Even your
how
friends,
different
you know,
am I?
those guys you hang out with.
Exactly,
You
even
see
your
the way they
friends.
handle women.
Yeah.
It will tell you a lot about how they perceive women. Yeah.
I want to add spice to this.
Yes, please do.
Okay, this is gonna be really controversial. Or what you're saying on daddy issues and mommy issues.
Yeah.
One thing that I would say is a red flag. If you meet a lady or a gentleman, let me start with the gents, because they are affected by this the most. These people are too close to their mom. When the mom says jump, how high? So
Yeah.
these are the people you'll be in a relationship with, and my mom cooks like this.
Yeah.
Oh, my mom cleans like this.
I have to talk to my mom first.
Psychological, emotional abuse is coming right knocking at you. So I'd say run. Same for the
So there's a
ladies.
problem with a man who loves so much into the mama.
No, you see, there is
Yeah.
no problem with you loving your mom, but I'm not your mom. I am your girlfriend
But running
or your
is
wife.
wrong. You need to address it.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. So
Okay.
I'm not gonna be cooking, and then you say my mom doesn't cook that way. I'm not your mom. I'm not.
Yeah.
I was raised differently. You are raised differently. Our kinds of recipes are different from yours. So let's balance it
Yeah,
out.
let's
right?
communicate.
But don't make me cook like your mom.
Yeah.
Don't make me clean like your mom. Don't make me, because there are things I am better than your mom, but I'm not talking about them.
Yeah.
Right?
Like what?
Yeah, we dive deeper into that. Just the same.
Yeah.
Just the same thing with the ladies. You meet a guy and you're like, my dad will send me this amount of money per month, like a monthly stipend. The guy, you're almost maybe, let's say 3-4 years age difference. So where is he supposed to get money?
That
your
your
dad is
dad-
50s
Exactly.
and 60s. So those 20 years, 30 years, how is he gonna get the difference?
Right,
No, you see.
yeah.
So it's the same thing, and ladies will be like, my dad will take me here. I am not your dad. Please, I am not your dad. This is me. I am your, let's
Yeah, let's
so those are the things,
differentiate
and
that.
that is why I said the reason as to why I say it affects more of the men. Men would really compare. They would really, my mom doesn't dress up. Please. So for the ladies, if it's like, you're this
I beg
unnecessary.
to really object slightly.
Okay,
Let her finish first, and then we can come to you.
for these unnecessary comparison and everything, that is something I just tell people, don't take
Yeah.
it. Don't be compared to anyone, because you now start, to me
Standards.
it's more like it starts to kind of poke
Yeah.
your self-esteem, and then you keep on doubting yourself. You'll never be really true to the relationship, because you keep on checking if you're meeting
you're
that
meeting that
person's,
standard. Yeah.
are you cooking like them, are you cleaning like them? So you lose yourself in the process, and you end up being resentful to the person, because
Right.
now you're not able to be true to your to be true to yourself. Okay, you can come.
Yes, Dre, what do you have to say about that?
These things just demands communications, and I know it's a conversation we need to bring both men and women here to
Yeah.
know that you will never get exactly a replica of your
It
dad
is
or
a
your mom.
reality.
Right.
Yeah.
Just let me just say something on that as we whatever. You see, let's get a reality situation of, let's say, ladies who are abused by their dads, let's say sexually abused, and
Yeah.
these are people you don't even want a relationship with them, right?
Yeah.
So I would say that sometimes it's not like you would have a bad relationship with your parent. It's just that the trauma that you went through would not really allow you to keep on opening that door, because these are
Interesting.
people who are not even remorseful
Yeah.
for the things they did. Rather, you get blamed for such situation. So I would say in such environments, I believe with this current state of things that are going on wherever, I would say, the way it's standard procedure right now before you get into a relationship, people do HIV test. I say it's standard procedure right now. If we are supposed to get into a relationship, let's go for like a one therapy session. Let's
Yeah.
just get to know. You might be having some traumatic issues that you're not even aware of.
Yeah.
So we
unburden.
don't keep on bleeding on other people.
Yeah.
I get into a relationship, maybe I'm not really healed from the other, or I'm not really unpacked on what the issue was from the other side. I'll come into this new relationship, I'm starting to, he is healthy, he's really healed, he's self-aware, he knows what he wants in a relationship, he's able to work it. But since I have a lot of trauma, I'm not
Emotional
healed, I
baggage.
now start to
Project.
mess up with how healthy he is. So he starts now second guessing himself. It's like, oh, okay, so I thought relationships were please let's just do. I know people believe therapy is for maybe crazy. No, let's just do some at least
And let's have conversations.
Yeah.
Let's get to know each
real
other.
conversations
Yeah.
before
Talk.
we commit and all.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the reasons, personally, male or female survivors or partners stay in abusive relationships?
Yo, I would say number one, I think society is the problem. We fear shame. We fear to be labeled. We fear like, oh, she couldn't even hold a marriage.
Yeah.
Or the man will be told, unaona hata hawezi weka mwanaume, like
Yeah.
he can't control his woman. I think one, we fear what the society is gonna say about us. So
Yeah.
we
That
get
stigma-
stuck in
stigma
we
and
get stuck in
discrimination.
unhappy situations. Number two, investment. You look at how many years you've invested.
Oof.
You're like,
Hey. Hey.
all of these 10 years, if you've been taken for vacation, the gifting, the everything,
Yeah.
because you've really invested in. So there's the finances part, there's emotional psychological, there are
part,
things
yeah.
that you guys have done together that you're not even gonna start to think about doing it with anyone else.
Yeah, you start
know?
from zero. Yeah.
And then thirdly, I would say that this perception that the grass is not greener on the other side. Like, for example, on the women's street, it will be like all men are the same. So unaacha huyu you live here, it is raining, it is still
yeah, maybe it is even
is
it
still
has
raining.
thunderstorms
There's
and
no perfect man.
Yeah, lightning.
so
There's no
you
better
know,
man.
so you'll
Men
be
are the
told,
same.
oh, if
Yeah.
kama anachit hata ule mwingine ukienda atachit tu, or kama anakupiga hata huko kwingine wanapiga tu, so you
Wanapigana.
need to find a way to kind of learn to
You choose
usipigwe
your battle.
you choose your battle.
Yeah.
So that is also, I would say those are the top main reasons. And then there's issues of finances. So let's
Right.
say I don't have a job, I heavily depend on my man. Sasa nitatoka ninaenda wapi?
Yeah.
Like if he lives, definitely if you're moving out, most of them would say kama umeamua kuhama utaenda na watoto.
Yeah.
You know very well you can't provide for those kids, right?
Right.
Going home is not an option because you don't have a job. You're going to burden people at home.
Yeah.
Or you know that when you get home, kila mtu atakuwa like sasa umewacha huko. And then there's abusive people, they will always send money to your parents.
Your
Sasa they are
parents.
so good.
You
Wewe
got there
unahama,
things that wanashanga unafanya nini hapa rudi.
Unaacha prince ukuje ukae hapa
Yeah.
ushago. So I think I would say those are the four main reasons that people get stuck in
Right.
this relationship. It's not easy to live. Yeah.
It's not.
So I had a friend of mine who was like in abusive relationship. The guy burnt down her house while she was away. The guy alimchoma na pasi, and she was talking to me like she wanted to come out of the relationship, and therefore, like an expert or somebody who understands, help me out. I even connected her with a counselor, an elderly woman who is like a practicing counselor, to help her out. But for some reasons that I still don't understand to date, she went back to the relationship. And so my disturbed head got me to read a book titled When Men Batter Women.
Yeah.
And I love the research that they've done, the case studies they've used. And they categorize men into two groups, the batterers. We have the cobras and we have the pit bulls. So cobras are people who are very violent. They have criminal past, or they are criminals.
Right.
And they're like bad boys. And you see, they say women also love bad boys.
Okay,
to
let's
some
not go
extent.
into that, but you can
we
just
will get there.
continue.
We will get there one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, women kind of love bad boys. Like these guys who are feared, They're the kings of the ghetto, whatever
Right,
region where they
rowdy
stay.
and all.
They're rowdy and they use drugs and everything. So once women get into this relationship, number one thing that the cobras use is that they sell you fear. You know that you can't walk away from this because even the next guy you're gonna get, he's gonna get him. He's gonna kill him. He's gonna beat him. He can beat you up as well. So cobras think like that, and they can really manipulate you. And mostly they're in relationship just because they want to be pleasured by women, or they just use women. For them, it's just about use.
Yeah.
But you as a woman, you get hooked to him. And mostly they're also they know how to apologize and accuse the drugs they use. Remember, they're heavy drug users, hard drug users. They're either very deep alcoholics, or they use like they use weed on the highest level, like highest point. They use hard drugs also. So they also know how to apologize to you by buying you stuff. That's how the cobras communicate their apology. They take you on vacation, they buy you something that you've ever wanted, but just to keep you there so that he can objectify you more, use you more for his own pleasures,
Right.
as he continues to batter you. The next category are the pit bulls. Pit bulls are people who had like broken pasts. And you know, the world of women is normally very kind.
Yeah.
So the kind world of women gives the voyeur kind of feeling to these pit bulls, you know. Normally they don't know how to cook,
Yeah.
they can't clean, they're just nice. They're just nice, a nice boy, you know. Like, and then you attach to him the voyeur thing, you know, you clean for him, you cook for him. If you
give him
go
money.
and now the tool they have
Yeah.
is that the pit bulls make you feel that you are their world.
Yeah, you're the
That
everything.
if they remove you from their world, it's all gonna crumble, and therefore
Right.
they scare you with a bit of suicide. They sell you that bit of suicide. And remember, pit bulls get very emotional to the point they beat you up, but they know how to sulk and come back and apologize and make you think that
Did they make you
it was-
apologize?
no, they make you feel like
That
you
it was
made
your-
them.
Yeah, it
You
was
your
made
fault.
them beat you. Actually, they pronounce it. They voice it to you that if you had not done this,
I wouldn't have.
Wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And to your mind, you know, this is a good boy. This is a cool kid. This is some very voyeur
like, you
kind,
start
you know.
second guessing
yeah,
and-
so
and wondering
you
whether
and
you
yourself,
really-
you know how peaceful this guy is. But also, one thing they have is the emotional manipulation.
Right. Very, very strong.
They can never let you go because they scare you that they're going to kill themselves. But also, they make you think that every bit of point of disagreement that you guys have had, it has always come from you. When they are overreacting, they make you feel like you're the one who have projected that overreaction to them.
Right.
So this kind, in fact, the whole science says it is even easy to leave a cobra than to
Yeah,
leave a
than
pit
to
bull.
leave.
So people
Because
should
the
watch
pit bull-
out for those
Yeah.
cobras and pit bulls.
Pit bulls.
Yeah.
But then the worst thing is that couples who like get hooked up together,
The trauma bond.
you use drugs, you go drinking together, you guys get drunk together, you guys smoke weed together, you guys use cocaine together, you get high together. Couples in those kind of relationship do not live, because you're never ever gonna get a bad boy like him
Yeah.
who's gonna
What are
allow
the
you
odds?
to use like he uses
Comfortably, just-
because
yeah.
most men, like for example, for me, once in a while I would go drink with my babes, but I'm not telling you that every other evening when I want to hang out with my boys, I'm gonna go with babes. It doesn't happen.
That's
But there are
right.
those people who allow their women to be with them in every other quarter. They buy drugs, they buy alcohol, they drink together, they get high. Women normally don't live those kind of
Right.
relationships.
I mean,
Yeah.
thank you so much for bringing that out and educating us, because I did not even know about those pit bulls and
bulls
cobras.
and cobras.
And Susan mentioned trauma bonding.
Yeah.
I have known groups of people who have been brought together by trauma.
Yeah.
Right. So what role does trauma bonding have or play in people staying in abusive relationships?
Let me use an example of, I think the one trauma that most people have gone through, the neglect and the abandonment. I think in our generation, there was a lot of that going on.
Right.
So let's say for us, maybe the dad was not there, and also the dad was not there, or maybe the mom was not there. So, you know, there is a way you feel like kulikuwa na love that was missing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you meet me, my father was not there, sindio, and I've not gone to therapy to deal with it. So I'm there, I'm just looking for this, you know, fatherly love kind of
Male
situation.
touch.
You know, and sometimes they associate it with, you know, the explanation that why do women go for older men, because they're able to cover two segments of it.
Yeah.
They'll show up as a father, and they'll be able to show up for them intimately, right? And for the men is the same. They say most men who go for older women is just because they need that motherly, you know, they want someone who can baby them. And women their age, or women who are younger than them,
Right.
are not gonna
Well,
baby them.
Yeah,
They're
they're
gonna-
going to
they're
fulfill
busy.
that
yeah,
need.
they're gonna,
Busy.
you know, they will frustrate him. So the older woman, you know, is just to pamper him and
Yeah.
baby, you know, and he
And
feels
give
so
him
nice.
money.
And, you
Call
know,
me if I've had lunch.
you know, and Che
You know.
and be sending random, give
The
him
other
the
one,
car.
the other one
Yeah,
wants
pay
lunch.
rent.
No, yeah, nitumie ID replacement situation. You know,
Right. Oh,
so the trauma bonding really is just that you find that there is a lack from each side, and then
they're
we are
compensating
trying
through
to,
that.
you know, it's
Yeah.
like, let's say for example, like this part of my jaw is not there, so I'll need someone, na yeye pia hiyo side yake ya huko haiko, so we fix it so inikaa tuko na, it's like we're fixing each other rather than actually going to get help so that I'm able to heal
on your
and
own.
and he's able to heal on his own. So really trauma plays and then let me give an example of one that is not really talked about because people highlight mostly the emotional and psychological. The one that is sexual, most ladies who are female sex workers, most of them are actually, they're not they're victims of sexual abuse. These are people who had been abused sexually when they are young, so they never had the opportunity to take control on issues of sex. They never had the I don't know, just the opportunity to say yes or no.
Right.
How they want it, when, and with who. No, for them, it was dictated. This is how it's supposed to be done. This is when it's supposed to be done. However, the perpetrator wanted it. That is how their brain got ingrained. So you see, these are people that they would just have sexual urges whenever they would have sexual urges. They cannot control it.
Right.
Because they never, by when they started having sex, their body and their mind had not really been able to grasp what really sex is about, so they missed that part of development. So the body, they just, whatever the body wants, the body gets. So you would get the sexual addicts. If they're not sexual addicts, they'll get to being sex workers. And in this, sometimes you would ask them, why can't you leave? Some is not even for the money. It's because they cannot stay without sex. And maybe they would date this person who is not able to do it. Anaenda kazi, anaenda kwa hustle. Maybe me nataka sex maybe 4 times a day. Hayuko, he is hustling. So how am I going to get satisfied? So I will have to find ways of satisfying myself, right? So that is one. You find that this I use for ladies, and for the gentlemen, I'm yet to get really research that really proves it, but they say that boys who have been abused when they were younger, now they'll get to be gays. I'm yet to actually get research that proves it. But whatever conversation that has been having on the street is that because that is what they were accustomed to when they were young, the sodomy and everything. So when they've grown older, they don't know any different. That is the only way they know how to be intimate. So they're now able to actually get, and they will get, you see, that is why there's really high rates of violence on the LGBTQI community. It's not really discussed as much, but their rate of violence is actually getting higher because it's only this one person. And we all want to share this one person who is able to give us that fulfillment. So tutakupiga wewe, and then there are issues of murder, and there's so many things going on. So you find that the traumas, that the unique traumas that people have gone through, that is aside from the emotional and psychological, that is what gets us to this. Or those people who, the poverty mentality, like nyinyi hamkuwahi kuwa na pesa kabisa na hata wewe hukuwahi jipata in a position ya kukuwa na pesa, so wewe bora tu wako na pesa, like so long as he has money, it doesn't matter how he looks like, what he has money, like he just has money, so you be there. Let me use an example of the recent case that had been trending on social media. We can all see you, like CCTV, we can see umechapwa makofi left, right, center, right? But your family has, it's not like your family hasn't tried, they have, but we utaki tu kutoka, I'm not saying that is the case, but you see these people who, like, wow, it was just poverty, so when they see money, we will just do anything for money.
Bought for you.
Me, I don't care. Mnipige tu. I mean, the money.
As long as I'm driving this car,
money,
and I'm coming back to the house.
I'll rather cry in a Prado than...
Ntawatesa kwanza social media. You see, so those are those unique trauma bonds that people are not really having conversation about. And we don't want to accept. Like, mtu hataki kukubali that for sure, it's because maybe I've just been, the only side of life that I knew was poverty. So I haven't been able to interact with this other side to know that actually I can work for my own money, or rather I don't have to go through this for me to get money. They're different, there are ways I can use my skills to be able to get money. So those are those unique traumas that people need to, that is why I say before relationship kila mtu tu aende therapy, hiyo one session. If you are a person peke yako 45 minutes, as a couple 1 hour 30 minutes, you guys need to do a diagnosis. So we get to where kuna hii shida
triggers, you have these triggers,
so we don't keep on bleeding on each other.
Right, so we are in the digital space. We come across technology, social media. How has these exposed us to different realities around gender-based violence based online. If Susan or Ray, you have been a victim or you have ever come across someone actually perpetuating some form of gender-based violence against you, I mean, you can as well speak about it. Like, how do you think gender-based violence also manifests itself on online platforms? Dre and then Susan.
Okay, I want to give an example. I don't know if this is actually okay. They say men really don't know when they are, like sexually abused or something like that. I've had a scenario where a woman, quite elderly, had reached me out like on my DM, and she was very straight. I think these mature people, they don't waste time. They don't tell you about.
They
your
know what they
show.
want.
Yeah, they know what they want. They come so straight up.
Yeah.
So of course she started by talking about my podcast. I like what you're doing on your podcast and everything.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know her so much, but we were friends.
Yeah.
So I still don't know how we became friends, but
It happened.
Okay, those back in the days, I think I used to just accept people's like friend requests you accept without
Right.
really checking out somebody.
Right.
So we got to that point where then she's just talking about how can I support and everything, and I'm like,
Guardian
yeah,
angel.
there's so many ways you can support because I'm trying to grow big and
Right,
everything.
yeah.
Then the first thing, we've not even finished that conversation of support, is like, can we ever meet just to talk about,
Yeah.
not about your podcast? I tell you, these people are so straight up, not talk about podcasts, but just talk about you and us.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what about us that we're gonna talk about? And then she's like, I just want to know you. I just want to know you better. So because also my schedule with work, I didn't manage to like give her the date. And then now she came back, the second conversation we are having, and she tells me what she really wants. Yeah, like, I would really want to treat you to something. Like, we go out, we go have fun, and then just be in a world of our own. So I check her profile, and this is quite elderly lady.
Yeah.
And then I asked her about her age, like, how old are you again? So the again there was the problem. She picked it up. And then she started like ranting, telling me, you think you're too cute. I don't know what. Like, really, we were not talking about being cute or anything. Like, I just asked about the age because I really need to know how old you are. It could be maybe you are young, but you're using your mom's images on social media.
Oh, wow.
Of course,
What are
I'm being
the odds,
sarcastic.
Dre?
I'm being sarcastic here. But, of course, I knew what she wanted. I was just thinking
So
now.
to some
let's play
extent,
that.
did you start feeling
And-
like it was some form of harassment or
Yeah,
something?
she insulted me. She said so many, bad things later after she learned that. So, like the way I was telling you about my experience with, some guy hitting on you, and then you tell them, even us straight people, we don't really get it quickly
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So I wanted to give her that, but I realized, for what? Like, what are the odds? What are the stakes?
Okay, let's talk about men being targeted by other
Elderly-
men,
Other men.
like sexually. Like, have you ever come across that, or your friend
Yeah.
being a subject or targeted? And
Yes,
yeah.
it is there. Yeah, someone like me, I've experienced it. I know there's so many guys. If you are in the content creation space, I think these guys get to you. Like, a gay guy comes to you, and they dangle money mostly for the experiences I've had. They dangle money like, I'll sort you out.
in luxury
Like,
lifestyles.
yes, can I meet you? Can we make out? Or I just want to kiss you. I like your lips.
I wanna spank
just
you.
only that.
Yeah.
They don't talk about spanking, but they talk about.
But they actually spunk men out here. Men are
I
being
don't know.
spanked and
Really?
like, physically harassed, sexually
Okay,
harassed.
Yeah. So I've had that conversation with a guy. So I had to like be like the brother, like, bro. First of all, I'm not gay. I'm very straight. I don't judge you because you're gay. But even for us straight people, we are not getting women cheaply like that. Like, you got to get to know somebody. You cannot come here today and tell me, I like your lips, I want to kiss you, and boom,
It happens.
I need to be taking my phone and checking the cab and drop the pin and everything.
Yo,
Yeah? It doesn't
that
work
happened
like
that
that.
fast, yeah.
Let's get to know each other. But then they start insulting you. Unajifanya sukari, unajifanya what, like, Yeah, you are so stupid. So I'm wondering, where is my stupidity coming from? The fact that I've given you
so
a very
sorry.
genuine feedback.
Yeah.
Get to know people, get to know whether they're gay or not, and then if you guys gonna vibe, because if he's gay, he's gay. Maybe if you can convert one, it's fine. I mean, that's this
Okay,
great effort.
let's not go there. Susan,
you can convert one for yourself.
there have been so many cases where like women have been targeted.
Yeah.
Women celebrities have been targeted. Their nudes leaked. Their sex tapes leaked, and even girls just being harassed physically, not phically, online, digitally, where someone calls you a video call and they're sending
naked.
you obscene photos.
Yeah.
Have you ever been a victim of that, or have you? I mean, what do you have to say about that?
I would say if you've been on Facebook, you've been subject to that by the
I know.
Indian men.
Indians.
The Indians.
You cannot escape that. So everyone on Facebook, whether you're male or female, you've gone through that experience, right? So that is the number one. Number two, I think I've had backlash on conversations that I've had before, because sometimes not everything you say sits well with everybody. Then again, you cannot please everyone. You know that the world, we are not here to, So yeah, I'll get backlash on such conversation. I've actually experienced harassment from both male and female, and I think the last one that I ever experienced, I think it still shocks me today. It was by one. It was a female anchor actually of a show, and she actually commented something about my physique. And I think I just looked at her with a lot of disgust, because I was like, we cannot be here having conversation. Actually, it was about 16 days of activism. It was about GBV.
Wow.
I just looked at her with disgust, and
That
I've
is
never
insensitive.
showed up at her show again. So I would say that is personal experiences that I've had. But I know ladies out here, nudes is the number one target to go with it. And for that, I say, if you want to take nudes for yourself. Do it and just admire yourself.
Right.
If someone wants to see the nudity, book an appointment. You just do live show, if it is that bad. But these issues of sending
It is that bad.
issue of
no
you
one
want
it
to
is
be
not
sending
safe.
photos,
Right.
please, no.
Right.
Because not every man out there is a gentleman.
Yeah.
So you may share your photos
To a
and they'll
psychopath.
go
No,
and be
yeah.
sharing to everyone, and the next time you show up in a particular function, everyone is looking at you.
they're like,
So I wouldn't say that every man is a gentleman. So just do live shows if you have to do the nudity segment part of it. And then I know of, for like the celebrities, people who bash them, oh, you've grown fat, or you've grown thin, or you've like this, And I've known of celebrities who would have, it's actually a medical issue, and people will bash them, either you're too thin or you're too fat, or so those are the struggles of, I would say, that I've seen celebrities going through. But also, I've seen men have also been subject of violence, not necessarily women. I remember when one of the celebrities broke up and the lady was like, your manhood is tiny.
Yeah,
it
gets personal.
Like it can't last
for
5
me,
minutes in bed.
that is actually, that is violence. It's
It
verbal,
is.
it's psychological violence.
Right.
And let me it's not even funny. Why am I laughing? This guy who trended on Twitter some time back, where I think the lady was Mpango Akando, or rather now we call them Camilas. And then, so the guy refused to give Camila the normal stipend. I think she was supposed to take him out or something. And then the lady just leaked all his nini. His one, I think that case really took president on the nini. And, people are still trying to bash the man that he had cheated on his wife, and that is segment different, that he's going to do with his wife. But why did the lady leak his nudes? What was the intention? So simply, I could give you money. Now I will not give you money ever. Okay, so you've used your ammunition. So what is left? So that is blackmail. You can see the way people get blackmail. And I know a lot of men get blackmail.
Oh, a
right
lot.
now
Even
it's
like
easy.
high profile.
Yeah,
men have
actually
been
high profile men. And an example is, I don't like to talk about this lady, but just I wouldn't mention name, just don't to give her airtime. But this lady who is now just doing, every week is just doing a thread of how she's really been having sexual escapades with politicians. I don't know, in the toilet. I don't know, under the bus, under where.
The bus?
I'm just being sarcastic. But you see, as much as she's saying that she was the victim, but what she's doing now, she's a perpetrator.
Yeah,
because
she is.
Whatever decisions that you guys made, unless really you're being raped, then we are gonna back you up, and we're gonna fight this fight for you. But you actually did consent. You did consent. Now that they've kind of getting done used, we've dumped you. Now you want to expose us. Actually, that is abuse,
Right.
And if those men would choose to sue her, they would actually win, because that is
Right.
as much as she
That's
was the victim
defamation and
before.
all.
I don't know how she was the victim, because she consented, right? So those are some of the, and nobody is talking about it, and everyone, oh, what? I thought this man was leave alone what you thought about the man. Right now, he is the victim. It's just that people are not open to look at these conversations
Yeah, from that
different
point of
angles.
view, yeah.
We are just used to this one side of it, and that is it. So I would
Right.
say it's actually right now it's even rampant. Like
No one is safe
there's just so much obscenity on the news.
on social media. Anyway, so wrapping up, Dre and then Susan, what do you think are some of the ways that people can do on an individual level, systemic level, national level, policy, to continue preventing and stopping violence against women, girls, boys, and men?
All right. So I still believe in one thing. Let's empower girls, because money, finances is one of the biggest factors that has made our girls to be violated. An empowered girl knows her rights. An empowered girl can go to school and study to the highest level and compete with the men in the same level. Men also respect actually a woman who brings something on the table. The level of negotiations will be very different, and even how they perceive them. But I'm not saying that money should be the reason why men should think about negotiating with women at the same level. But I'm only saying that an empowered girl is able to actually walk even from a toxic relationship without caring about taking care of her kids. She can take care of those kids.
Right.
Let's empower our girls. Let's educate them to the level we can. Same to boys, so that we have a society of empowered and informed people.
Right.
That's all.
Perfect. Susan?
I would say conversation, talk about anything and everything.
TikTok.
Just talk
Yeah.
about everything you can ever talk about. Those
Yeah.
uncomfortable conversation, finances, trauma, family issues, family background. Talk about everything. And if your partner is not willing to have a conversation with it, why do forever with such a person? So let's talk. I believe everything can be solved through dialogue, and if it's not, then just pack your bags and go. I also I encourage people to speak out. I'm that friend who helps people pack their bags. So if they're beating you today, I'll pack bags, we are going, so let's help each other out. Let's speak on behalf of those who cannot speak. Let's have this conversation more often. Let's create spaces and platform for actually people to even talk.
Thank you so much. I want to say thank you. You are brilliant minds. And without you, this conversation would not have happened. So thank you so much for your time. And I hope that we can sit down once again and have this conversation. As you go out there, continue preaching the message, continue advocating for rights, and continue doing what you do. Thank you so much, and God bless you. This brings us to the end of our episode. I hope you have enjoyed watching and listening. We are going to be sharing some of the numbers you can call. So in any case where you need support or help in gender-based violence, or someone who needs that kind of support, please, the message is do not keep quiet. Let's continue empowering our girls and women. Let's continue promoting a culture of respect and respect to human rights. It has been a pleasure, and I hope to see you again. My name is Susan Sindani. Out.